Well, that was last year's Meetings Africa, and with me is Nomasonto Ndlovu, Global Manager for Business Tourism and SA Tourism. Now, Nomasonto, why should we bother about business tourism in particular?
Lionel, hi, and thank you for having us today. I can really say that business tourism is very important from a point of view that the business tourists, they spend more, as you heard from the inset, but also that it actually supports our leisure offering. So what we try to do is to make sure that we play our part in economic development and contributing to job creation. So we make sure that we're supporting the industry that's really working very hard. And today you have Mike, these are the guys who make these things happen. But it's very important that as we have leisure tourism in South Africa, we have business tourism, and we continue to grow it because it is such an important economic contributor.
Do you sometimes find that people actually mix up the two and don't make the differentiation? I'm sure that must frustrate you beyond measure.
Well, it does, and one of the reasons that we're very passionate about business tourism is precisely that, because people don't know business tourism. We're continuously having to educate and say, what is business tourism? And some people are still referring to the MICE industry, which is the meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. But it's exactly where we play. But it's important because it's labor intensive, so there's a lot of jobs being created around this area. It does a lot to actually profile the destination, because you get high profile delegates, you get executives, you get CEOs, you get very, very big people from the organizations who then become your ambassadors. And they influence not just their families, but their corporates, so their employees. So if it's a CEO of a very large corporation which might have 10, 20,000 employees, if they've been to South Africa for a conference, they will talk about it. Okay,
let's bring Mike in. Mike, your business, Dragonfly Africa, is one of the biggest service providers for this type of industry. So your business is actually the mainstay. The mainstay of your business is business tourism. Tell us about what you do and why we should bother, once again, about business tourism. Yes.
Indeed. I mean, our speciality is incentives, pure incentive. We're quite fortunate. That seems to be the cream of the business tourism market.
When you talk incentives, what do you mean?
Well, it's basically a reward program, a program to motivate and reward predominantly sales staff, but any employee for achieving a certain target or achieving a certain level of commitment, and they are rewarded with a trip which we essentially put together for them.
Great.
You know, ultimately they can choose from any destination in the world, so it's our job to convince them that South Africa is the place to come. And
are they coming, Mike?
Indeed. I mean, despite what you hear around you in terms of the world's economics, we're actually busier than we've been for a long time.
But isn't that quite peculiar? Because, I mean, everybody's saying that, you know, tighten the belts, but they're busy coming to South Africa for a party.
I think there was a guilt complex on behalf of major corporates for a long time after the economy slumped. Many of them had resources to sell incentives or put incentives together, but I think they held back on account of the perception. But that's gradually wearing off, and we've seen, particularly out of North America, a big surge towards incentives here again, and we could get up to 3 inquiries a day at the moment, which is very encouraging.
Let's bring Mati in. Mati, obviously you are the CEO of the Sandton Convention Centre, but you don't just offer the convention centre, you offer a destination.
Yes.
How do you actually do that?
Well, you know, in our type of business, like the convention center, we can take up to 10,000 people at any one time. So we attract global conferences as well as the local conferences, which are smaller. And when you attract 5,000 to 10,000 people, you don't just market the venue, you actually market the destination.
Right.
Because the person who's organizing that conference based in Zurich or in Rio or wherever they are, they want to know, are there 5,000 people going to be safe? Are there 5,000, do you have enough hotels? Do you have enough transport for them? Do you have something for them to do after hours? They can't just be in the convention center for 5 days. Where else can they go within the city? So for us, it is actually a destination that we are marketing. We go together with the city, with the province, and with the country to actually market, because when you've got 5,000, 10,000 people coming in.
When was the last time you had 10,000 people?
Our biggest conference was actually the 2002 World Sustainable Tourism World Conference on Sustainable Development.
Right.
2005 with the World Congress Congress for Petroleum. We've also had the SADC Heads of State Summit. We've actually had quite a lot of Heads of State Summits as well, because as Johannesburg, again, being a commercial center, we actually attract a lot of Pan-African business. So we have a lot of those type of conferences happening. It may, we may say, oh, it's 1,000 delegates, but when you look at the support structure that is there, by the time you bring in, the staff, you bring in the police, the security, and everybody else who's involved, is actually 3,000 people.
It becomes
in
an
the
event.
I
said in the introduction that the average business tourist spends much more than the leisure tourist. Now, I was putting myself on a limb. Can you help me with that? Is it true?
Yes, it is. Because obviously, at the end of the day, they have to stay in a hotel because they need to be near the venue. What you actually find is they just don't come to the conference. Then usually they latch on a few more days to go shopping and to see the country. Sometimes they bring their spouses along. And also what we have found is that usually once they come to the conference, they see the destination, they're attracted to it, they always come back now on a leisure visit. So you actually end up winning 2 or 3 visits out of
killing
one.
2 birds with one stone.
Right, so yes. On that point, just want to add, because this is why as South African Tourism, we have to make sure that we work very closely with the leisure product suppliers when we are in business tourism, because the stats are saying over 40% of the people that have come for a conference or an incentive trip, they will come back with their families in about 18 months.
Wow.
So we already are, you've worked so hard on those people, they're convinced.
So they become ambassadors?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
So I think we've established that business tourism is an animal that's there, and we have to look at it seriously. Bringing us to Meetings Africa. Meetings Africa, this year is the 9th year. It's taking place end of this month at your venue, Sandton Convention Centre. Nomasonto, if somebody said to you, Meetings Africa is just a talk shop, man, how would you answer to them? People to meet and hide.
First of all, I would really challenge them to come to the show.
Okay.
And then we can shut them up. Because the people that you're talking about, we're talking about these conferences, we're talking about where do they sit in one place and view what the destination has to offer over a 3-day period. Where can they have that opportunity? South Africa is a very diverse destination. So Meetings Africa provides a perfect platform for all the people who are players to showcase what they have once a year. And they give the buyers the opportunity to come and have a look. But also internationally. We travel around in terms of international shows. And we say South Africa is great. We've got the Gautrain. We've done very well. We have got the sun. How do they believe us? So we invite them to actually come and touch the destination and connect with our people, which is one of our biggest tourism assets, particularly post the World Cup, because now the world understands how warm people we have in South Africa.
And the World Cup was held in winter.
In winter, can you imagine?
Mike, you must be looking forward to Meetings Africa as a business person from Dragonfly Africa. Tell us why.
Well, I think importantly, one should make a distinction between Meetings Africa and the other shows that we would normally go to as an incentive operator. And those are traditionally held in really expensive parts of the world. Barcelona, Geneva, Chicago, more recently in Las Vegas. These big shows, we need to go there and find the buyers. And what you must realize is that those buyers are looking at the whole globe when they are visiting those shows. So if we can get people out here to Meetings Africa, first of all, they're showing a specific interest in Africa and South Africa in particular, and we have them all to ourselves. We don't have to be worrying about competing with Hawaii or Maui or
So it's
Monaco.
almost in your own dens, as it were.
Absolutely. They're in our backyard. And they can, as Nomasonto was saying, they can experience the destination firsthand, which we feel practically converts them. Once they're down here, once they've seen what we've got to offer, invariably they'll come back.
So we're talking about upwards of 4,000 people at your venue. Sandton Convention Centre, obviously year in and year out, has done a wonderful job. Can you just tell us what is going to be different about this year?
Well, obviously,
as a convention.
Obviously, in terms of the actual program and product, South African Tourism is our client in that respect, and they put that product together, but we work very closely with them in making sure that the basics work. So we are the venue, we make sure that everything is in place, but obviously as South African Tourism, they're the ones who actually put the final program.
But why Johannesburg for such a meeting, Meetings Africa, Business Tourism? Do you think it's some coincidence that Johannesburg and Sandton is there?
And why not?
Well, on that note, I think we've marketed here. Well, on that note, we'll have to take a break. And when we come back, we want to look at the expectations from this year's Meetings Africa, as well as more issues on South Africa Open for Business. Stay with us.